everybody, I'd like to talk to you today about how to get FAPE for your child in an IEP meeting or make steps towards FAPE with effective IEP meetings. I'm going to tell you 12 things that you can do for your IEP meetings, and I've recently learned a lot about this. My IEP meeting yesterday went different from all of my other IEP meetings in the last 7 years, and I've been to over 20, I'm sure. And I've just learned a lot recently, and I want to share that with you. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and sign the petition for California Dyslexia for more effective education for dyslexic students. Doesn't matter what state you're in or what country, everybody can sign it, and the link is in the description below. So recently I read a book called Don't Tweet in an IEP Meeting by a special education lawyer, and her daughter has Down syndrome. She has tons of tips in this book, but I'm just going to share with you the things that I did recently that were pertinent to my situation. The first thing I did was I went to the school in February and requested my son's full cumulative records. And it was kind of interesting when I did this. They said that they couldn't give me the records. And then I used the phrase FERPA, and they said, okay, we need 5 days. So that happened at 2 different schools for 2 of my sons. Same thing. The second thing tip that I have for you out of the 12 is to make a binder that includes evaluations, IEPs. These are the school psychologist evaluations or private evaluations. Correspondence like emails and reports from the teacher, maybe school work, report cards. I have a section for mental health for my son, personal goals, as well as school records. So that's where I put those copies in. And when I got the school records, I looked through them to make sure everything was accurate. And there was actually some papers that should have been in his brother's records that I was able to tell them, hey, this is in the wrong file. Number 3 is I learned what my child actually needs to get FAPE, or in other words, what's going to help him actually learn. And I learned so much in the last few months making videos for this channel. And I really recommend that you go to a Facebook support group. I have links to Facebook support groups in my video in the description below that's called What to Do When Your Child is Diagnosed with Dyslexia. I also learned a lot from the International Dyslexia Association website and understood.org and Decoding Dyslexia, because these are nonprofit organizations. They're not trying to sell you anything. They don't have an agenda. Their agenda is to help people with dyslexia. So that is where I learned that my child needs a multisensory structured literature program. And because of his situation, parents on Facebook said that he needed one-to-one instruction and extended school year. My number 4 suggestion is to write a parent concern letter. So number 5, I asked someone to go with me to the IEP meeting. And this is so important, and I've never done it before, but it made the hugest difference. In my case, I was able to ask someone who also has a child with dyslexia and knows a lot more than I do about special education law. And her name is Hillary Laxon. She's been on my channel before. And she asked questions that I wouldn't have thought to ask. And she told me certain phrases like you need to say, I request instead of I want. Refuse state testing instead of I don't want state testing, because then those are the legal phrases. And this is a question I have for all of you watching. How important do you think it is to use legal phrases in IEP meetings and when talking to the schools? Your thoughts about that and experiences that you've had. 6 is to request a draft of the IEP. They have to give you the IEP draft 5 days before the meeting. And that gave me time to read over it and write down all of my questions and concerns about the IEP draft. And then we could talk about them in the meeting. Number 7, let them know 24 hours in advance that you want to record the audio. Okay, number 8, right before the meeting, check your mindset. Remind yourself that you are a full member of the IEP team. Also, think about the word team. It's not you against the school. Everybody wants to help your son, probably, mostly everybody really wants to help your son, but nobody wants to be forced to do something they don't feel comfortable with. Let me tell you about my meeting yesterday. There were 14 people in the meeting. There were 3 special education teachers, my son's ERMS counselor, his mental health counselor, a health representative, the school psychologist, his 3 teachers, an administrator, a representative from the SELPA, myself, and my friend Hillary. This is my 9th suggestion. Ask a lot of questions in the meeting. I had heard that it was legally required to give progress reports on his IEP goals every month. And so the SELPA director looked it up in the education code, and she informed us that in California, it's required that they give me a progress report on my son's goals every 4 months or for a year. But I've never gotten a progress report on my son's IEP goals. Number 10, feel free as a parent to ask to skip to a part of the meeting that you want to talk about, because we were running out of time. And my caseworker was nice enough to say, hey, we're running short on time, just to let you know. And then I was able to say, okay, let's skip straight to the accommodations and talk about that. And then we talked about accommodations a long time. And she said, we have about 15 minutes left. So I said, okay, let's just talk about my request from my parent concern letter. Other caseworkers might not give you a notice about how much time you have left. So you need to ask how long the meeting is, when it needs to be adjourned, and keep track of that so that you can skip to the pertinent information or what you really want to talk about if necessary. Okay, and my number 11 suggestion, I don't have 11 fingers. Okay, number 11 suggestion, it goes right along with talking about my specific request. So if you have a significant request and they deny it, you need to ask for that in a prior written notice. Ask for a prior written notice, and that is basically a written notice of why they are not honoring your request or giving it to you. And they offered me one without me having to ask. They said, we're going to respond to your request with a prior written notice. And then Hillary helped me make sure to very clearly restate what my requests were, because we added two during the meeting. I also requested an assistive technology evaluation and evaluation by a speech language pathologist. And my 12th tip for you is that if your issues are not resolved in the meeting, like in my meeting, they didn't say, yes, we're going to give you everything you want right away, then you need to request another meeting at the end of that meeting. And schools have 30 days to have a meeting after you request it. I didn't request mine be in 30 days. I asked for it to be in September so that when school starts again, he has time to be evaluated by the school psychologist, because they didn't have time to do that before schools were shut. After the meeting, it's important to debrief with the person that was there with you. So Hillary and I called each other and talked about our impressions of the meeting. I wanted to make this video yesterday right after the meeting to let you know how it went, but I was totally exhausted. It was so stressful, and the meeting was 2.5 hours long, and I just had to lay down on the bed and not do anything. And I listened to an audiobook for a while, and then I had to switch it to a hypnosis relaxation thing because I really needed to relax. And after that, I just spent the rest of the day with my family. So make sure that you plan time to not do anything after an IEP meeting so that you can just spend time with your family and have a nice rest of the day. That's it for today's video. I hope that you'll subscribe and sign the petition for California Dyslexia, and see how you can help with that in the description below. Remember to share your thoughts about how important it is to use specific legal phrases when you're speaking with the schools and in IEP meetings. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.